All right. So I get questioned all the time about my bass lines. Now, full disclosure, I don't think that my bass lines are like that crazy, but I like them. I think there's people out there that are way better at bass lines than I am, but I get asked this question a lot. And I finally was like, you know what? It's time to talk about this shit. How can a dummy, a certified idiot, smooth brain like SoyIsREAL, who knows very, very little music theory, has no formal training in playing keys or any other instrument outside of the drums and trumpet back in middle school and high school, how could this guy all of a sudden have bass lines in his beats when for over a decade he had no bass lines? And the bass lines that he did have were out of key, or they were just filtered in from the samples that he was using. So they were very weak, not as pronounced, you know? I wanted today to be focused around things that I did to kind of get where I am now. Again, I'm not the master of bass lines or anything like that. I'm not claiming to be the illest, but if a simpleton, smooth brain, music theory knowing dude like me can program bass lines like how did this fucking idiot program this bass line? How'd I do this?
What the hell that mean?
Must have on the beat, ho, beat, bo, beat, rap, nigga, yeah, free. Man down, call an ambulance, tell him breathe, bro. Nail a nigga to the cross, he walk around like Tizo.
How'd I do this?
Tony ass niggas trying to see Compton. The industry can hate me, fuck them all in the mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body, I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching.
So if a dummy like me can make bass lines like that, I'm going to kind of share my journey of how I got to where I'm at now. I still practice. I still try to learn new things, try out different sounds, different textures, different patterns, different things like that. And I still watch other people's YouTube videos about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's all super useful. There's people all over YouTube and, you know, other platforms that share a lot of knowledge that's very, very helpful. So even if you know a lot about a subject, there's always somebody that's going to know either a better way of doing it or a whole new method of doing it and expanding your vocabulary. When I started streaming back in 2020, during my streams, I expressed to my community, to my chat while I was on Twitch, that I wanted to learn how to do bass lines. Now, luckily, I had people in my community that did have perfect pitch or that were musicians that were able to, you know, at least play along with the samples at home. And then they would tell me, hey, that's in the key of this or key of that. You know, so I had people in the chat helping me out initially, right? Mind you, this is before Serato sample and all that stuff, all those tools now and plugins now that just give you the key automatically. We'll get into that more. I program all my bass lines here on this machine. This is like my one-stop shop. I do my drums, my sample chopping, I play keys, strings. What it boils down to is if you know what key you're in, or what the root note is of the sample that you're chopping, you're pretty much golden. There's only 12 notes, right, on a keyboard, and then you're pretty much going up or down an octave. It's gonna be in the key of one of those 12 notes, right? So the root note is gonna be one of those keys. Once you figure out that root note or that key, boom. Now, there are a couple of resources that I did find out about before I had Serato sample or any other tools. And I've talked about it before here on stream, but we're gonna go over it again. So let me pull up these websites here real quick for you, and we'll talk about them and what the use cases are, right? The first website I'm gonna talk about here, and this is a great resource for anybody that's just starting out, or maybe you don't know that much about music theory like me. You don't know who to ask. I'm giving you guys some sauce here, okay? So this is the first website that we're going to talk about right here. This website is called TuneBat. TuneBat.com. All right? I'm not sponsored by these guys, but this is a free website that you could use And basically you can search for artists, songs, or albums, right? And then what it'll do, it'll give you all the information that like Serato sample would give you, right? It'll tell you what your BPM is. It'll give you the Camelot key, the actual key right here. So if you know the Camelot wheel of scales, you can use that as a reference as well. And yeah, that's pretty much all the information that you're going to get out of this site. Now, this is a great resource if you quickly want to find out what key, let's say you want to do a remix of something, right? You can quickly find out what key the original song is in. Now, the second website I'm going to show you is a little bit more useful for what I was doing as far as like making beats and sample-based beats. And that website is audiokeychain.com. But essentially, this website is pretty much the same as the other website, as TuneBat, right? You know, you have your database where you can search for the songs, search for the key, and it'll give you all that information, BPM. But the reason I liked this website better was because it had an option to upload samples, right? So let's say they didn't have your sample listed on their database, or let's say you pitch the sample up or down. You can export a loop as an MP3, drop it in right here, and then it'll automatically analyze that clip, and it'll tell you, hey, this loop is in, you know, the key of B or C major. You know what I'm saying? So then you have your new key, because anytime you pitch it up or down, it's going to change the key, right? So you have your new adjusted key and the new adjusted BPM. You know what I'm saying? So then you can build your beat tempo around that on your machine, or, you know, you could time stretch it and just keep the pitch the same. So that way you can make sure that your bass line is in key with the sample, even after it's been pitched up or down or time stretch. You know what I'm saying? So this audio keychain was super duper helpful to me when I was starting out. That being said, right, those are the two websites that you can use for absolutely free. If you have some money, I highly recommend making the investment and getting Serato sample. All right. And the reason I'm going to recommend Serato sample, one, Serato sample is basically a plugin that you can use in any DAW. All right. It pops up like this when you open it up and you install it on your computer. So you can either load an audio file or you can drag and drop from a folder in here. So we're going to go to load audio file, right? Let me just pick a sample that we recorded in recently. So let me just pick this one right here. Okay. The reason I always recommend this, the Serato sample, the second that you drop the sample into this plugin, first thing, it'll tell you the key automatically right here. All right, so the key, this one by itself is in C minor. If you pitch it up or down, it'll automatically adjust the key and tell you what key it's in, depending on, you know, how many cents you pitch it up or down. So this is super useful, super quick. And then another thing that's cool is that it'll tell you what the original BPM is as well. It'll detect the BPM just like Serato DJ. It'll tell you the BPM. So this one's about 107 BPM. And then, you know, the key is C minor. So with this information, you can go in, and I'm just going to use machine. Once you have the root note or the key, you can go in, and I'm pretty sure MPC has it. I know the Ableton Push has it, and I know Machine definitely has it because I use this all the time. If you're on Machine, right, specifically the MK3, but you can also do this on the MK2. MK2 had this feature as well. If you hit the keyboard button on your Machine sampler, right, it will have on the screen here, it'll ask you what scale, major, minor, harmonic, pentatonic. On this side, you'll see this button right here, or these two buttons control the octave, and these two buttons control the semitone right here. All right, so the semitone is where you're going to go up your keys. Actually, I think I need to load a sound first. So let's load a bass line up, okay? The two bassline plugins or bass plugins that I use the most for 99.9% of my beats is Retrograde Bass and Rickenbacker. They both are compatible with machine and any other DAW that you have, right? So let's just say, let me just pick out Rickenbacker, and we'll choose their default bass sound right here. So once you have your key, right, it's C minor. What you're gonna do is on your machine, the scale is gonna be main. Under type, so main scale, under type, you're gonna select minor. And then you're just going to make sure you go through, you can scroll through the semitone button on your machine. And semitone, you're going to select C minor. All right. So. All right. So that's C to C. Right. So you have your. Now that we know that key, we're going to go back to Serato sample real quick. Let me find a loop here real quick. Let me just find a little loop. All right, so we have this loop, right? And then my thing is like real basic, you know, I always try to end on the root note, resolve on the root note. You know what I'm saying? It just makes it easier and quicker. And then like as far as rhythms and stuff, you know, you could just follow like. You know, you don't have to be all fancy. You could just be like. See, and that's the beauty of like this technology that we have now, right? Use the tools to your advantage. You know what I mean? Like we have hardware and software that will basically set your pads up to where it's only playing notes that are in that specific key. So no matter which note I play, it's going to be in key, but you just want to find something that kind of feels right and resolves in a nice way. You know what I'm saying? For the loop to come back around. You know what I'm saying? You can get real funky with it. You know what I mean? Like. I'm literally just using one octave of the C minor scale, just as an example for this, right? So, like I said, you don't have to be super busy with it. It doesn't have to be super funky. You can make it as funky or as laid back as you want it to be. You want it to be complementary. You want the sample to shine more. You just want to boost the low end. You know, just you could try to play along with the sample. You can play complementary to the sample. You know what I'm saying? But just finding that root note is like you're pretty much done at that point. So once you know what key you're in, that's it. Look up the notes on the scale. You could look it up on Google. You can be like, all right, this sample is in, you know, C minor. You can be like, hey, Google, what are the notes in the C minor scale? So you learn your scales while also getting more comfortable with programming bass lines. And the same principle can be applied to, you know, learning how to play like accompaniment with the sample. So if you've seen me like make beats where I add like piano to the beat or strings to the beat or vocals to the beat, you know, different layers. That same principle applies. Once you know the root note, you could just really pile on and layer sounds until you have something that is pleasing to your ear. You know what I mean? Or that fits the purpose that you're trying to produce for. So with that being said, right, we're going to go through some beats that I've made recently that have bass lines, and I'll kind of break them down for you here as well. And then we'll make some new beats as well. But it's like, is that all making sense so far? Like the way I've been explaining it? I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but I'm trying to be as like concise as I can be, because this is literally what I do. You don't see me like playing crazy shit, you know, or getting super duper funky with it. I just play what I think sounds good or what complements the track, and I leave it at that, right? And then, like I said, I use either Rickenbacker a retrograde bass. So this was the gospel sample that we use, right? So let me let's kind of solo it out. So here's the original loop right here that I got. So if we look up Serato sample, I pitched it up 2, right? So it's +2. So the sample after I pitched it up 2, it's in the key of F minor. So basically, what I did is I went to my bass instrument, which in this case was the Rickenbacker. And with the Rickenbacker, I changed my key to F minor on the actual machine hardware. And I came up with this. So, as you can see, my bass line, not super busy. I basically just have the root note, right? No, it's not fixed velocity. I keep my velocity at the whatever the standard is or the default is in machine, so that way I can play soft or loud. And then you can bend the note too, which is what I did here. You see like those little. So essentially, again, just playing root note. And I'll show you what it looks like in on the keys here. So this is F minor going to C minor to E flat, C again, and then F. So and then C back to F. So it's just those 4 notes right there. So I'm always resolving, every bar is resolving back to, or every 2 bars I should say is resolving back to F. So that's pretty much it, man. I'm just walking the bass line, not getting too crazy. I know it looks and sounds like it might be a lot, but I'm telling you, this is like as simple as you can get it without it just being like if I, let's say I go right here. I can just go up to the next F. You know, you can make it super simple. And because you have it in key, it's just going to sound good. You know what I'm saying? So that's like as simple as you can get it. So I just add a little bit of like, a little bit of something there, but it's not, again, it's not like anything crazy. So you can fill out the low, mid, and lows with the bass line. So it sounds full. Let me actually pull up a song that Millitron mixed so you guys could hear. So, by the way, this is no samples either. So I did the bass line, the horns, all that stuff, right? And I did it with like mostly plugins that you can get for free. Except for the drums.
Ugh. This shit is disgusting. We on some commission shit right now, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what the fuck this is, man. It's the God. Word up. Yo, soy beat stupendo. You niggas get played like Nintendo. I know niggas slaying your Xbox. My last apartment fresher than your next spot. Interior, exterior, bars is superior. Out of this world, far from inferior. Put fear in ya. I'm Batman swooping off the roof. The rhyme's 90 proof. Alcoholic Al Bundy. Touchdown, earthquakes every time I touch ground. My hands hear drums, my ears touch sound. I'm a hip hop anomaly. Nobody doing nothing like my squad and me. Jordan with the 3P 2 times. Same style with the new rhymes. Biasly, I'm killing niggas, Lynn Biasley. You coked up. Niggas stay prayed out and hoped up. Won the trophy in the Gold Cup. Slow and steady on some Jokic shit. Lost Aaron Brockovich. I bite Yoka bitch. Ozone, we flowing shit. You ain't knowing shit.
But you see, the bass line for that, super simple, right? But the bass line was honestly the reason it's so loud and pronounced. I wanted the bass line to be the center of the beat, and then everything around it was basically complementing the bass line. You know what I'm saying? Versus doing it the other way around. And I just try different things out, man. Like, especially on live stream, you know? It's a little nerve-wracking, but if somebody's going to be the one to, you know, fuck up in front of people, I'd rather it be me. And you guys learn from my mistakes. Because I didn't have that, man. I didn't have that when I was starting out. There was nobody giving up the sauce. Everything was gate kept when I started, you know, back in 2004. YouTube wasn't even a thing then. You know what I'm saying? You had to be a part of like the underground hip hop blogs, forums and shit. That was like the only way that you could get even little tidbits of information. Hey, another thing, just to kind of chime in here, Draco, about your comment about struggling with the chords and everything like that. One thing that I have done that has helped me out with bass lines and chords and things like that, just like with the last beat that I played you guys, is just listening to records that I like and figuring out, like, dissecting it in a way where I'm asking myself, why do I like this record? Why is this so pleasing to me? Why can I listen to this at any time of the day, on any day, and it puts a smile on my face, you know? And you start to dissect things. It's like, oh, you know what? I think it's the Rhodes. I really like the Rhodes on that. Or the bass line is just warm and fuzzy. It gives me the, you know, it gives me great feelings, you know? It could be the drums. It could be the vocalist, like whatever it is. And then just figure out what those things are, what those elements are, and kind of break them down separately in your head. And you could be like, okay, how can I use that element in something that I make? And then just play around with it, man. Like, honestly, like, trial and error. I did a lot of trial and error when I first started streaming. You know, I'm always going to be a sample-based producer, but I was scared. I was scared to play bass. I was scared to add keys and strings and flutes and mallet instruments like I do now, but it's like, when I first started, I was scared to even put my feet in that pool, you know? But the more I did it, the more I put that pressure on myself to, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this in front of people. When people see that you're trying and you're making the effort, like, they're going to be more willing to help you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people did. What's His Face Music is one of the people that was in my chat that would help me out a lot with figuring out what key a sample was in, what chords I could play, what bass lines I could play. So, like, that was one of the dudes that would show up and just without me having to beg was just like, hey, I like this guy. I want him to make the illest beats ever. And he just started helping me out. It's like, yo, that's in the key of blah, blah, blah. And I would try it out. I was like, oh, it is in the key of blah, blah, blah. And then I would just start playing around with the scales and shit. And then, you know, lo and behold, I started getting more comfortable with that, you know?
And this is love. And this is love. And
Yes, sir.